Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Lunch and Learn. I'm sorry that we started so late, but unfortunately, I was having technical issues, and I'm still having technical issues. Everybody say yay! Okay, so let's dive straight into it. We're going to be talking about Parshat Yitro, and then we'll go into talking about Pirkei Avot. So do come and join us on Zoom with our wonderful virtual studio audience. But for now, a couple of words about Parshat Yitro. Big Parsha! I'm trying to move the earpiece away from my ear so that I'm not just listening to myself, but that's the microphone. Can't hear me at all? I'll do it like this, and then we'll have no problem. So Parshat Yitro is a big parsha because it is all about the giving of the Torah. This week's parsha, we're going to be reading about the Jews at Mount Sinai. But first of all, we're introduced to a man called Yitro. And Yitro was Moshe's father-in-law. And we hear about how he's heard about all of these amazing things that are happening to the Jewish people. Coming out of Egypt, all the miracles, the plagues, the punishments against the Egyptians, the splitting of the sea. He's hearing about all of this. He's perhaps even hearing about the giving of the Torah. Okay, chronologically, this beginning piece might be happening after the giving of the Torah, but either way, we're hearing about Yitro coming to join Moshe and coming to join the Jewish people. One of the amazing things that we learn about Yitro is the microphone still good, by the way? Do our best. So one of the amazing things about Yitro is he had apparently become a master of several religions throughout his lifetime, and he eventually kind of comes across Judaism or buys into Judaism, whatever it might be, but this is not some wandering sheep. Yitro is a very accomplished minister. He was actually the priest in Midian. He was a minister in Midian. So he's a well thought out guy, well thought in the sense that he has progressed through many different religions, if you want to call them that. And he is now coming to join the Jewish people. And one of the things that he tells Moshe is, you're going to burn out, Moshe. You're doing too much. You're handling everyone's questions. And that's not an ideal way to set up a system of leadership. So he encourages Moshe to appoint people who are going to be underneath him, who are going to take the questions of the people. And only he will deal with like the big shilas. But he's going to have judges and leaders underneath him who are going to, in the main, tackle the day-to-day mundane questions that people might have, because it's just going to be too exhausting if he's having to handle everything by himself. So, one moment. Dusty Angel, everyone can hear you that you're screaming. Can you close the doors, please? Please just close the doors, Dusty. So that is the beginning of the parsha, hearing about Yitro joining the Jewish people. And then we hear about the Jewish people standing at Mount Sinai. We talk about how they were so united and how they were so at one with each other. It was the most united time of the Jewish people. That's why the verse says Vayichan Sham. In the singular, it says that the Jewish people camped around Mount Sinai, but it says it in the singular instead of the plural, because this was a moment of extreme Jewish unity. Everybody together with one heart, one focus, one kavanah. They were all in it together. And then they hear the Ten Commandments, which we all know and love. And that in a nutshell is this week's parasha. One little observation to make. We talk about how the Ten Commandments are divided up into two groups of five. The first five are commandments that take place in the realm of man and his relationship with God. And the second 5 are commandments that are about man's relationship with other people. So if you take a look yourselves at those 10 commandments, cut them in half, and see how they split up between man and man and God, you notice that that the commandment of Kibbud Av V'Aim, my dad's favorite commandment, honoring your father and your mother, that is actually on the side of man and God. It's not on the side of interpersonal relationships, which is a fascinating thing. Requires much reflection and much thought. Perhaps one of the fundamental concepts that we're being encouraged to understand in that commandment is that actually, with regards to a relationship between a child and his parents, it is also about the relationship with Hashem as well, to realize that there are 3 partners in every in the production of a child. That's what the Gemara tells us. There's the father, there's the mother, and there's Hashem. They each play a very important role in the production of a child. And so that starts the thinking process as to why that particular commandment makes it into the top 5 of man and God commandments, and not just man and man. Anyway, that's Parashat Yitro. Do we have any questions? Yes, we do. We've got Rita on line 1. Ooh. I believe so. He wasn't born Jewish. No, not at all. In fact, there's a source that says that he was one of Pharaoh's lead advisors in Egypt. And when Pharaoh wanted to kill off the Jewish babies, he actually said, "I'm out," and he left Egypt at that point and went to Midian. So no, he was certainly not Jewish when he was born. And my understanding is that he did convert to Judaism and he did join the Jewish people, although we read later on in the Torah that he actually leaves the camp and he goes off on his own way. But I do believe that his last decision was Judaism, if I'm not mistaken. I really do apologize. I don't know what's happened to my tech issue here. But is it? I'm seeing some heads shaking. Is it really difficult to hear it on the microphone? I can try a different set. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of things in my ears, so I can appreciate that it's not easy. So, doing my best with the tech that we have. A bad workman blames his tools. Okay, let's get it up on the screen. You can always watch it back on YouTube. I'm sure the quality will be far better there. Okay. Oh, we're in the wrong place. All right. Okay, here we go. Is everybody seeing the screen? Fantastic. Okay, so forgive me. We are going to go with Mishnah 10 on the screen. In my books, you may find it chapter 4, Mishnah in 12. So if anyone wants to read for us Mishnah 10 on the screen, or not, maybe no one can hear me. Oh, got it there? Wow, okay, so we're going to have to do some work on this Mishnah, and we're going to have to take a look at these translations a little bit. So Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir says, what does he say? He says, Heve mema'et ba'esek va'asok ba'torah. So, Joy, is the sound not good? Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm going to switch to a different pair of headphones. We're having a nightmare today with the tech. Is that any better? That's still not better? Oh, dearie me. I'm so sorry, everyone. It's actually a bit better. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Lunch. Okay, so we're in this Mishnah here on the screen, Mishnah 10. Rabbi Meir says, Heve mamait ba'esek va'asok ba'torah. That we should, it says here, engage but little in business and busy yourself with the Torah. It's not a perfect translation as I might have liked. Mamait means to reduce. So in my version here, I've got reduce your business activities and engage in Torah study. And we need to understand what that all means. The next point in the Mishnah is Veheve shefal ruach bifnei kol adam. That you should be, this is a pretty good translation on the screen, be of humble spirit before all men. Ve'im batalta min haTorah, if you have neglected the Torah, yesh lacha batelim harbe kenegdecha. So it says here on the screen, you shall have many who bring you to neglect it. I have a version here that says that you will have excuses to neglect it. Yesh lacha batelim harbe kenegdecha. There will be enough going on that you come to neglect it. Ve'im amalta b'Torah, and if you labor and if you engage in the Torah, then yeshlo sachar habe liten lach. Then there is much reward coming to you. Much reward that Hashem will give you. So does anyone want to comment before we look at some of the insights on this? Maybe you're just getting better at this. I just realised that no one in the world can hear what you're saying, but never mind. No, but on YouTube and Facebook. But then I realised no one's watching anyway. So an acute observation. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps we just haven't found the connection. So we've not had it in its exact replicated form. But yes, this is an emergence or re-emergence of themes that we've talked about in the past. 100%. That's certainly one of the levels of interpretation, yes. So fantastic. Oh, so let's start with that, Peter. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so that's why I was going to say, Peter, that we should start from your point there, because it's not saying that one should not work. The words here of mema'et, be'esek, mean to reduce the amount of work. And I think the heart and the essence of this Mishnah is of the observation that the pursuit of business, the pursuit of profession, um, becoming a workaholic is an addictive route that pulls you away sometimes from the important things in life. You know, I mean, let's ask this as a question. What drives people to become workaholics? Money, power, the feeling of achievement, and sometimes, pardon me, Gary. Okay, history of poverty in early life, and I certainly appreciate what you're saying there. But if I can just spin it just a little bit, there's a point that I'd say there's a tipping point between someone who's working to earn money to support themselves and someone who is becoming the workaholic type, the person who leaves no time for anything else, the person who spends all their time in the office, away from the family, not getting to pursue any other hobbies or make time for anything else. So there seems to be a difference between people who are able to work and to earn their living and to make a balance in their lives, and people for whom that's not a possibility. The point that I believe we're drawing from the Mishnah is that we have to find the balance. As with everything, we have to find the balance. We have to appreciate that the pursuit of money, the pursuit of the joy of the chase, the materialistic pursuits, whatever it might be, they can all become addictive. But if they become addictive and if they become all consuming, you never get to expand beyond there. And that's not necessarily a healthy way to conduct your life. Pushing off meaningful relationships until you reach a certain point in your life, that can end up biting people in the long run because maybe it becomes too late for them to pursue the things that they were pushing aside in favor of a career. or in favor of a certain amount of money or a certain amount of a target, it can backfire. What were you going to say, Joy? Yeah, I've heard that as well. A very good one. The Maharal from Prague makes an important point, and that's why it's important to mention what Peter was saying. He's not saying that we should reduce our work out of laziness or out of a fear of challenging ourselves or out of a fear of, what it might mean to have a career. That's not what it's talking about, but it's about finding what's important in life and learning to compartmentalize and learning to balance our priorities. And it's also not saying that you have to go cold turkey. Sorry. It's also not saying that you have to go cold turkey. It's saying to reduce. It's saying to reduce gradually. Peel away the intensity of an addictive work life and learn to balance. There's an amazing story that I remember. Oh, Rita, have you got a question? I can see your point, but yeah, I'm not sure it's as simplistic as they read this mission and they're like, oh, okay. Very often it seems to be more an outgrowth of the culture. So I think there's layers of complexity beyond just this particular Mishnah. So very often it's a comment on society. That's what we've seen a lot of times with these Mishnayot, that the rabbis sometimes have to take an extremely hard line or blunt way of expressing something in order to compensate for societal influences. Is that what you mean? Yeah, that's very possible. Perhaps that's the significance of the next part of the Mishnah then. Humbling ourselves before men, realizing that we're not just in it to win it, in it to be on top of everyone else, in it to crush the competition. Somebody who's working round the clock because they're helping people's health. That's vastly different than someone who set themselves this life goal of being the CEO and crushing all of the competition underneath. I think it's possible to balance both those parts. Somebody who's working round the clock, but from a place of humility, that's clearly, evidentially, a better, system than trying to do it to crush and oppress everybody else. Were you going to? Oh. So I think he's not trying to prescribe people's life arrangements. I think he's trying to unravel a fundamental point of truth, which is when you peel away from the rat race and asok b'Torah, that doesn't necessarily mean just sit in the Beit HaMidrash and learn Torah, but it means that you are engrossed in having Torah values at the heart of your life. And that will involve family life, family planning, all those other important pursuits. I think that's a part of being engrossed with the Torah. I'm sure on one level as well, it means go and sit in a Beit Midrash, but the nugget of truth that pervades every area is the idea of not becoming addicted to business and profession and the pursuits of a career, but to realize that there are other priorities that we have to balance as well. So that's a good point. There's a story that I heard many years ago. Can everyone still hear me, by the way, with the mic? Brilliant. So it's a wonderful story. I can't remember if it's the Chafetz Chaim, but the story goes that there was a guy who worked as a herring salesman, struggling for money, trying to make ends meet. And he hears that there's an island far, far away where you can go and become super, super rich. They've got so much over there. And he makes this arrangement. He's going to go over to this island for a year. He's going to get all of these diamonds that are on the island, and he's going to be a rich man. So he embarks on his voyage, and he goes to this island, and lo and behold, he pulls up at the shore, and everywhere, the whole beach is scattered with priceless diamonds and gems. And he gets so excited, and he starts scooping them all up, and he's thinking to himself, I'll spend a year here, I'll accumulate all of these diamonds, and then I'll go back to my country and I'll be so rich. So he sweeps up a few pocketfuls of diamonds, and he goes to the local shop to buy himself some food. And he walks in so proudly, pulls some stuff off the shelves, and the salesman tallies it all up, and he digs into his pocket, pulls out a couple of diamonds, and with this wonderful smile on his face, he throws the diamonds onto the table. And the salesman looks at him, so the shopkeeper says, what's this? He says, I want to pay for this food. Here are all the diamonds. He goes, diamonds are worthless here. Over here we trade in herring. And he's like, oh my gosh, well, good thing I'm an amazing herring salesman. So he starts going out, collecting herring, fishing for herring. He is able to go and buy himself some goods. He's able to get himself started. And over the course of that year, he builds up this amazing herring company. And by the end of the year, he's got barrels and barrels and barrels of herring. And he's thinking, I'm rich. I'm going to go back to my country with all of this herring, and my family are going to be so proud, and we're going to be so rich, and we're going to have everything in life. So he loads all of these barrels onto his brand new yacht, and he sets sail on his voyage back to his home country. And of course, as he arrives weeks later on the shores of his country, he takes all of these barrels down. His family are so excited to see him. So you've been on this island, you've got all of these riches, let's have a look. And they prise open the barrels, and inside is stinky, rotten fish. And his family are looking at him like, what's going on here? You're supposed to bring back diamonds, and all you've been doing is trading in herring. So the moral of this story, of the parable, is that we come down into this world, and we're here to collect the diamonds, the mitzvot, and we spend our lives collecting herring and investing all of our time and all of our effort in things that ultimately are not important and ultimately don't give us the merit and the spiritual currency that we need. And maybe we'll come back with a few diamonds in our pockets, a few mitzvot here and there, but in the main, we may have directed our attention in all of the wrong places. I don't know. I like that story.
Is this the whole concept?
Pardon me?
Sorry. Is it not the whole concept of like Hasidism, where like you take every mundane thing and you elevate it? So like you make sure that you go to sleep so that you have energy, so that you're able to do mitzvahs, and you eat so that you're able to like.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why Shira should teach Learn to Learn.
No.
She's making a very important point. But again, it's not just about sitting in the study hall, but it's realizing that everything that we do and everything that we touch and every little part of our lives, ultimately, they go to building up this diamond stash, this diamond collection. And as Shira was saying, even things that are as mundane as eating and drinking and exercise and whatever it might be, it's all there to fuel our bodies in order to do more things and to do more good deeds and to do more mitzvah. Let's just try and hurry up with getting some more nuggets out of this Mishnah. I wanted to do 2 today, but we'll see if we've got the time. So the other truth that comes out of this Mishnah is that the more distractions you have, it's only going to bring about more distractions. So that seems to be the thrust of the last part of the Mishnah here. In batalta min haTorah, yesh lacha batelim harbe kenegdecha. If you neglect the Torah, you're going to have plenty of excuses. Plenty of things are going to come up to keep you even more distracted. Distraction begets distraction. So if we don't prioritize the important things in life, so first of all, we're going to be too distracted from those important things, from our families, from interactions with others, the mitzvahs that we can do. So if we are focusing on the wrong things, there'll be plenty of excuses as to why we couldn't focus and why we couldn't get around to doing the things that were actually important to us. We talked in the past about Im ein ani li mili. We said in the very beginning of Pirkei Avot, if I am for myself, if I'm not for myself, what are the words? If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? So if we don't have the right balance of important things, well, we're going to find, if not now, when. If I don't actually get on with these things, then I'm never going to get around to them. There's a famous piece of Talmud that talks about when we go upstairs and we're going to be asked, did we have a focus, have a Torah focus in our lives? Granted, the actual piece in the Talmud talks about, did we make time to learn Torah? But it's the same principle applied to everything. So they say, well, one guy will come and say, oh, I wasn't able to because I was too poor. I was too poor to be able to do any of these things. And then the heavenly court will say, well, were you as poor as this particular individual? I think it's Hillel, maybe. Hillel was so poor, but yet so devoted that he almost froze to death trying to fight for his ability to learn Torah. And another guy might say, well, I was too rich, I was too busy with my business. And the heavenly court would say, were you as rich and were you as busy as, I think, Rabbi Judah the Prince, who commanded a whole fleet of ships and had this whole big import and export company and so much money, and nonetheless, he was able to make time. So the point that emerges here is that we can have our excuses and we can say that this is not the right configuration to be able to do the things that I want to do. But the point is that if we were to really introspect and think about it, then we'd realise that we can make time. I mean, I always talk about how I never get time to exercise. And when I talk to people who do exercise, they always say to me the same thing. If it was important to you, you would make time for it. And I don't. And I keep telling myself that it's very important to me, but I just can't do it. I just don't have the time. But fundamentally, we know it's true. Anything that is really important, if we wanted to, if we had the right drive, then we would do it. But we get distracted, and that distraction leads to other distractions, and that's why we don't actually do those things, which fundamentally are important, and we know they're important, but we let distractions get the better of us. So that's all I have to say on that Mishnah. I don't know if we can get a second one in. No, I think we're going to have to leave the second one for next week. So let's open the floor for comments and questions.
Yeah. This. You said that she's allowed to choose, and she chose the green zone.
To keep 2 eggs for you. Or 1 egg for you.
But I think
Go and
she's
tell her.
going
Go and tell her. Darcy, you need to do your work, darling.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. And if I can just add on the tagline almost at the end there, we don't appreciate how much reward and how important it is for us to actually get these priorities right and to get these mitzvot performed and to live in that way. It's very true what you're saying.
I understand now what happened. Okay, this is a now picture and that's a then picture.
Why do you think we don't appreciate it?
To look like and what it is now. Okay, let's do this and this one. Okay, where's the blue? Can I have the blue, please? That's an olden day picture of an olden day bedroom. Can you see? And that's a new bedroom. Okay, we're going to do that. Then we need to find an olden day kitchen. And a new kitchen. This is an olden day kitchen. Can you see?
Mummy, I asked Austin to put it away properly. Mummy, I asked Austin to put it away properly in my pencil case, but instead she didn't. I did. Well, I can't find it in my pencil case. Inside. I know it's on it. That's not
it's a very quick lunch and learn session, or a very quick shir to read this mission and say, right, everyone, pack your bags, off to the Beit Midrash, off to the yeshiva, whatever it might mean. This has to be words that we can read, and that we can actually find the psychological insight that is driving Rabbi Meir to make this point. We can read all of these things and say, well, the solution to all of it is close yourselves off, open up a Chumash, open up a Gemara, and don't do anything else with your day. I'm not going to stop you, Paul. I'm not going to stop you, Paul. That might be certainly the plain level, but this has to be words that are relevant through the thousands of years after he says it, and the millions of Jews who are encouraged to study it. We don't say only people who are sitting in a Beit Midrash should read Pirkei Avot. And if you go through all of the subsequent works of commentary and books that have been written in a way to help people grow in the situations that they find themselves in, you find that everyone is talking about a work-life balance. In the main, we don't say in Judaism that the only way to live your life is to sit in a study hall and learn. There is a balance. There is a need to support a family. I mean, there's biblical commandments to have a family. How are you ever supposed to have a family if you're sitting all day studying? So the 613 mitzvot, there's not only one of sitting and learning. There's hundreds of commandments in the Torah and thousands of halachot that are learned from these mitzvot. There's a whole chunk of Jewish law which is about how to balance and work in a business setting according to halacha. So it's just a bit simplistic if we read it and we say, busy yourself with the Torah, end of, nothing else to say. There are layers of truth to this that cover more areas than just Torah study. Asok b'Torah, on the one hand, yes, it means to immerse yourself and busy yourself with Torah study. But it doesn't say Torah study, does it? It doesn't say limud Torah, it says b'Torah. Torah is more encompassing than that. It covers more areas. And I think that's what everybody in here is trying to plumb the depths of and realize what it can mean to live by the Torah and not just to sit and study the Torah. That's what I think. Anyway.
Dark. Very good. So we can write that the olden day bedrooms used to be very
dark,
and the new bedrooms are
and light,
and
and then colourful.
light and colourful, you could say. Light and colourful.
Okay, no.
Very nice and yes, first. Got a class in 15 minutes.
And that's why it's broader. And that's why I think one of the big truths that we're talking about here is that Rabbi Meir and Judaism realize that to devote yourself exclusively to a career has a detrimental impact on everything else that you want to be able to get out of life and on everything else that is available for you to get out of life. So it has to be broader. It has to encompass all of these things. Otherwise, people will just read it and be like, okay, that's his opinion. Nothing in it for me. But we have to find the parts that are in it for all of us because these are meant to be eternal truths. That's what I think. And I did it!
old. Can you think about how we say spell the word day? The old. You can just say the old.
A very good and astute point as well. And in fact, when we come to the next Mishnah, which we're now going to have to do next week, we're going to talk more about the spiritual impact of our actions. And that's why it's so important. It's a very good mantra for us to live by, to realize this last line of this Mishnah, Yesh lo schar habeh, that there is so much in store spiritually for one who pursues a life of good deeds. So we'll come to that again next week, David, and hopefully you'll be able to tune in and give us more insights. But for now, that's all we've got time for on the recording. I am fed up of having to hear myself speak in my ear, so I'm going to stop the recording, and we will continue with our after party here on Zoom. But for now, let's wish everybody a wonderful, meaningful day, and a Shabbat Shalom for when it comes. And don't forget, chicken soup tonight with the Feldmans. So we look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. Zadie, if you've got a minute to stick around to help me fix my microphone, that would be brilliant. I mean, you're all welcome to, but that's what I'm going to be doing now.
Where what?
Oh, yes. Current affairs. Take care.
The old bedrooms, that's a stop right on the top. Where?
Where? I don't know if it's spelled.